I walked out. After my parents gave me nothing but gifted my sister a fully paid house. Years later, they wanted to reconnect. But my sister told me one thing and everything I believed about them shattered. I pulled up in my 10-year-old car, watching the snow stick to my windshield, while my sister Vanessa's brand new Tesla sat gleaming under the carport. Even the weather seemed to favor her. I grabbed the modest gifts from my passenger seat and made my way to the front door. Before I could knock, my mother flung it open with that performative enthusiasm she'd perfected over the years. "Janine, you're finally here." She pulled me into a hug that felt more like an obligation than affection. "We've been waiting to start." The house smelled like cinnamon and pine, exactly how it always did during the holidays. My father sat in his leather recliner nursing a scotch. Vanessa perched on the couch beside her husband Derek, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a Hallmark movie. Her blonde hair cascaded in perfect waves while my brown hair frizzed from the humidity of melting snow. "Traffic was terrible," I said, shrugging off my coat. "Well, you're here now." My mother practically vibrated with excitement. "Come sit down. We have something very special planned this year." I should have known then, should have recognized that particular gleam in her eye. But I sat down anyway, placing my gifts under the tree that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Vanessa smiled at me, that beauty pageant smile she'd been perfecting since she was 16. "How's the teaching going, Em?" "Fine. The kids are excited about winter break." "That's sweet." Her tone suggested teaching 4th grade was about as impressive as collecting bottle caps. "Derek just got another promotion, senior vice president now." "Congratulations," I said, meaning it, even though the words tasted like copper. My father cleared his throat. "Shall we begin?" Mom clapped her hands together. "Yes." "Oh, this is so exciting, girls. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking about your futures, about legacy and family." Here we go. I thought another speech about responsibility and making them proud. "Vanessa, Derek, you two have worked so hard. You've built such a beautiful life together." Mom's eyes actually welled up with tears. "We wanted to do something special for you both." Dad reached behind his chair and pulled out a large envelope. Not a gift wrap box, just a manila envelope. Vanessa took it with delicate fingers, her French manicure catching the light from the Christmas tree. She opened it slowly, pulling out a stack of papers. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What is it, babe?" Derek leaned over to look. "It's a deed." Vanessa's voice shook. "To a vacation home." Mom nodded enthusiastically. "In the Burkor, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, right on the lake. Completely paid off. We bought it outright." My stomach dropped somewhere near my feet. Vanessa burst into tears, the pretty kind where mascara doesn't run. "Mom, Dad, this is too much." "Nothing's too much for our successful daughter," Dad said, raising his glass. "You've made us so proud, sweetheart. Graduated top of your class, married well, that partnership at the law firm. You deserve this." They all hugged this Norman Rockwell painting of familial joy. Well, I sat there wondering if I'd become invisible. The vacation home probably cost close to $500,000. My parents had just casually handed over a house like it was a gift card to Target. "Janine," my mother finally turned to me, still wiping happy tears from her eyes. "We have something for you too, sweetie." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Regular printer paper folded into quarters. No envelope, no ribbon, just a letter. "Here you go, honey." I took it, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on me. The paper felt thin in my hands, almost fragile. I unfolded it slowly, revealing my mother's looping handwriting. "Read it out loud," Dad said. "We want Vanessa and Derek to hear this too." My hands started shaking before I even began. Something about his tone warned me this wouldn't be good. "Go on," Mom encouraged. I cleared my throat and started reading. "Dear Janine, your father and I have always believed in being fair with our children, though fairness doesn't always mean equality. Vanessa has worked incredibly hard to build her career and her life. She made choices that led to success. You, on the other hand, chose a path of mediocrity." My voice caught. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably on the couch. I continued, "Teaching is a noble profession, but let's be honest about what it is. A safety net for people who couldn't achieve more. You had the same opportunities as your sister, the same upbringing, the same advantages. Yet you're 32 years old, unmarried, renting an apartment in a questionable neighborhood, driving a car that's older than some of your students. The room had gone completely silent except for my voice, which sounded hollow and distant. We can't reward failure, Janine. We can't pretend that your choices deserve the same recognition as Vanessa's achievements. This letter is your gift because, honestly, we're not sure what else to give someone who hasn't given us much to celebrate. Maybe next year you'll have something worth rewarding. Maybe you'll finally find a husband, get a real career, make something of yourself. Until then, consider this letter a wake-up call. We love you, but love doesn't mean pretending you're something you're not. Merry Christmas, Mom and Dad. I stopped reading. The paper trembled in my hands. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the crackling of the fireplace and the distant echo of carolers somewhere down the street. Well, Dad said, finally taking another sip of his scotch, we thought honesty was important. Something inside me cracked, but it wasn't the breaking point they probably expected. It was something else, something clarifying. You wanted me to read this out loud, I said slowly, in front of everyone. We believe in transparency, Mom said, though her voice had lost some of its earlier enthusiasm. I looked at Vanessa. Her face had gone pale. That perfect smile completely vanished. I didn't know. Didn't you? I folded the letter fully precisely. You didn't know that you've been their golden child since birth, that everything I did was always compared to you and found lacking. That's not fair, Vanessa said weakly. Fair. I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to my own ears. Mom and Dad just gave you a vacation home worth $500,000 and gave me a letter calling me a failure, but please tell me more about fair. Janine, don't be dramatic, my father said. We're just being honest about how you see me. I get it. I stood up, leaving the letter on the coffee table. I actually want to give you all something too, an early gift. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and turned the screen so they could all see it. What is this? Mom asked, squinting at the screen. It's an email from the superintendent of my school district. Want me to read it out loud? Since we're all about transparency tonight. Nobody answered. Dear Miss Janine Patterson, I read. We are thrilled to inform you that you have been selected as Connecticut Teacher of the Year. Your innovative curriculum design, your dedication to at-risk students, and your groundbreaking literacy program have transformed countless young lives. The award comes with a $50,000 grant for your school and a full scholarship to pursue your master's degree or doctorate at any university in the country. Congratulations on this extraordinary achievement. I lowered my phone. I found out last week. I was going to tell you tonight, but I wanted it to be a surprise. My mother's face had gone white. Janine, that's wonderful, but there's more. I swiped to another email. This one's from Yale University. They're offering me a full ride for their doctoral program in education policy. They specifically cited my published research on childhood literacy in low-income communities, the research I've been doing for the past 3 years while teaching full-time. Vanessa had stopped crying. She just stared at me. In this one, I pulled up a third email, is from the publishing house that's interested in turning my research into a book. They're offering a $60,000 advance. The silence was deafening. But sure, I said, pocketing my phone. I'm mediocre. I'm a failure. I chose the safety net because I couldn't achieve more. My father set down his scotch glass with a heavy thunk. Why didn't you tell us about any of this? Because I wanted tonight to be about family. I wanted to celebrate together, but apparently you'd already decided I had nothing worth celebrating. I walked to the tree and picked up the gifts I brought. These were for you, Vanessa. I got you that first edition of To Kill a Mockingbird you've been wanting. Mom, there's a photo album in here with pictures of all of us from when we were kids. Dad, it's that vintage scotch you mentioned last summer. Derek, there's a gift card to that steakhouse you like. I have a bag of wrapped presents, but I don't think I want to give these to you anymore. I don't think you deserve them. Janine, wait. Mom reached for me. No. I stepped back. You don't get to do this. You don't get to call me a failure and then act surprised when I have actual accomplishments. You know why I didn't tell you about any of this? Because deep down, I knew this is how you saw me. I knew that nothing I did would ever be enough because I'm not Vanessa. I looked at my sister. And you know what the saddest part is? I was happy for you about the house. I was genuinely happy because you're my sister and I love you. But you've been sitting here for years, watching them treat me like garbage, and you never said a word. Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it. What could she say? I'm leaving now. I grabbed my coat. Merry Christmas. Janine, don't go. My mother's voice cracked. We can talk about this. We made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk at the store. This was deliberate cruelty. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. That questionable neighborhood I live in, I'm moving out next month. I bought a condo in New Haven, paid for it myself with money I saved from tutoring on weekends and writing curriculum for other school districts. The same weekends you thought I was just sitting around being mediocre. Derek cleared his throat. He'd been silent this entire time and now his face had gone red. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, I think you owe Janine an apology. My father's head snapped toward him. Excuse me. You heard me. Derek stood up, his hand still holding Vanessa's. What you just did to your daughter is reprehensible. I've sat through dozens of family dinners where you've made subtle digs at Janine's career, her apartment, her life choices. I thought maybe I was reading too much into it. But this, he gestured at the letter on the coffee table. This is abuse, emotional abuse. Derek, you're overstepping, my mother said, her voice sharp. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, I just watched you systematically tear down your daughter on Christmas Eve for no reason other than she didn't become what you wanted her to be. Derek looked at me, and there was genuine anger in his eyes. Janine, I'm sorry. I should have said something years ago. Derek, sit down, my father commanded. No, I don't think I will. Derek pulled Vanessa to her feet. We're leaving too. Come on, babe. Vanessa looked torn, glancing between our parents and me. Mom, Dad, he's right. What you did tonight was cruel. My mother's face crumpled. We were trying to help her. We thought maybe some tough love would motivate. Tough love? I laughed bitterly. You gave her a $500,000 house and gave me a letter listing all my failures. That's not tough love. That's favoritism dressed up as honesty. You've always been so sensitive, Dad said, his voice cold. Always playing the victim. We give you feedback and you act like we're attacking you. Feedback. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. You called my career a safety net for people who couldn't achieve more. You said I'm mediocre. You told me I have nothing worth celebrating. That's not feedback, Dad. That's contempt. He set his jaw in that stubborn way he always did when he knew he was wrong but refused to admit it. Maybe if you'd applied yourself more in college, chosen a more lucrative field. I graduated summa cum laude. The words exploded out of me. I had a 3.9 GPA. I could have gone to law school, medical school, business school. I had offers, but I chose teaching because I actually wanted to make a difference in the world instead of just making money. And look where that got you, he said dismissively. 32 years old, no husband, no property, no savings. I have $70,000 in savings, I shouted. I own my car outright. I'm buying a condo. I have a 401k and an IRA. I've been financially independent since I was 23. I've never asked you for money. Never needed you to bail me out. Can Vanessa say the same? The room went deadly quiet. Vanessa's face flushed. That's different, Mom said quickly. We helped Vanessa with law school because it was an investment. You paid for her entire education, $200,000 for law school. You paid for her wedding, which cost more than I've earned in 2 years. You co-signed on her first house, gave her and Derek $50,000 as a starting out gift. I kept track over the years, watching the checks written and the credit cards swiped. I paid for my own master's degree. I pay for everything myself. And somehow, I am the failure. My father stood up, his face darkening. How dare you throw our generosity to your sister in our faces? Generosity that only flows in one direction. My hands were shaking again, but this time from anger rather than hurt. Do you know what you gave me for my college graduation A card with $100 in it and a note that said, "Hope you find a real job soon"? I'd just been accepted to a prestigious teaching fellowship, but you couldn't even pretend to be proud. Mom was crying again, but I couldn't find it in myself to care. Janine, you're twisting everything. Am I? Let me ask you something. When's my birthday? She blinked. What? My birthday. What's the date? It's in September. August 23rd. It's been August 23rd for 32 years. I looked at my father. What about you, Dad? Do you know what I teach? 4th grade, he said, but he didn't sound certain. 3rd grade. I've taught 3rd grade for 6 years. Before that, I taught second grade. I shook my head. You don't know anything about my life because you've never bothered to ask. You decided who I was supposed to be. And when I didn't meet those expectations, you just stopped seeing me. I opened the door, letting in a blast of cold air and swirling snow. Janine, Dad stood up. You're being childish. No, I said calmly. I'm being honest. You said you value that, remember? I walked out into the snow, leaving the door open behind me. I could hear my mother crying and my father shouting, but I didn't look back. I got in my old Honda Civic, turned on the engine, and sat there for a moment while it warmed up. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Please don't go. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long moment. Another text came through. I mean it. I should have defended you. I was a coward. Then Derek. We're leaving too. What they did was unforgivable. Another from Vanessa. Can we talk? Not tonight, but soon. I need to explain some things. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I pulled up the contact information for my cousin Michael, the one who'd moved to Oregon and cut ties with the family years ago. He told me once that sometimes the only way to win was to stop playing their game. My fingers hovered over his number. We hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since the family reunion where he'd gotten into a screaming match with Uncle Robert about family loyalty. He'd left that night and never came back to another family event. I called him. Janine, his voice was cautious. Is everything okay? I just walked out of Mom and Dad's house on Christmas Eve. I don't think I'm ever going back. There was a pause and then, what took you so long? I laughed and it came out half sob. I thought I could change their minds, make them see me. They'll never see you, Em, not the real you. They're too invested in the version of you they created in their heads. He sighed. What happened? I told him everything while sitting in my car watching snow accumulate on the windshield. The vacation home, the letter, the revelations about my achievements that they'd never bothered to learn about. Jesus, Michael said when I finished, that's even worse than the crap they pulled on me. What did they do to you? Doesn't matter now. Old wounds. His voice softened. Listen, you did the right thing. Walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. Zing. Took me 5 years of therapy to figure that out. I feel guilty, I admitted, like I'm being ungrateful or petty. That's their programming talking. They spent your whole life teaching you that your needs don't matter, that speaking up for yourself is selfish. It's not. It's survival. We talked for another 20 minutes. He told me about his life in Portland, his wife Jennifer, their 2 kids. He built a whole beautiful life without the family's approval or involvement. You're going to be okay, he said before we hung up. Better than okay. You're going to thrive. But Janine, don't go back until you're ready. And you might never be ready. That's okay too. Thank you, I whispered. Anytime. And hey, if you need a place to crash while you figure things out, our guest room is always open. After we disconnected, I sat there in the silence of my car engine running heat blasting. My phone kept buzzing. More texts from Vanessa. Now Mom was calling, then Dad. I turned off my phone completely. I understood now what he meant. The drive back to my apartment took 40 minutes through the snow. I spent it thinking about all the times I tried to earn their approval. All the times I diminished my own accomplishments because they didn't look like Vanessa's. All the times I convinced myself that maybe they were right. Maybe I wasn't enough. My phone rang continuously. Mom, Dad, Vanessa again. Derek. I ignored them all. When I got home, I made myself hot chocolate and opened my laptop. I had applications to finish for the doctoral program. I had a book proposal to refine. I had a life to build. And for the first time in years, I felt free to build it without their voices in my head telling me it wasn't good enough. Around midnight, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Vanessa standing there snow-dusting her perfect hair. I opened the door. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside. She entered looking around my small apartment like she'd never seen it before. Maybe she really hadn't. I couldn't remember the last time she visited. Nice place, she said. Thanks. We stood there awkwardly until she finally spoke. I'm sorry. I should have said something years ago. Why didn't you? She sat down on my couch, and for the first time, I saw real vulnerability in her face. Because it was easier not to. Because if I acknowledged how they treated you, I'd have to examine why they treated me differently. I'd have to feel guilty about it. And do you feel guilty? Terribly. She wiped at her eyes. Janine, I didn't know about the letter. I swear I didn't. When Mom said they had something special for both of us, I assumed it would be, I don't know, equitable. A vacation home versus a letter calling me a failure. Super equitable. I know. She looked down at her hands. I told them they were horrible. After you left, I told them exactly what I thought. Derek and I left right after. Good for you. I meant it. What they did was unforgivable. She pulled a tissue from her purse, dabbing at her mascara. Derek was furious. He's never been angry at them before. He said, "We're not speaking to them until they apologize to you properly." That won't happen. I'm probably not. Vanessa looked around my apartment again. Really? Looking. This time you know what's funny, I always thought you lived like this because you couldn't afford better. But it's actually really nice, cozy, personal. My house looks like a showroom. Everything's expensive and cold and perfect. This actually feels like a home. I sat down beside her, keeping some distance between us. What do you want Vanessa to apologize, to explain, to try to fix this somehow? She twisted the tissue in her hands. After you left, Mom tried to justify it. Said the letter was meant to be motivational, but they thought you'd respond well to clear expectations. Dad backed her up. They truly believe that they did nothing wrong. Of course they do. But I know better. I've always known. She took a shaky breath. Do you remember when we were kids and I got into that gifted program? I nodded. I'd been 10, she'd been 12. You tested into it too. Your scores were actually higher than mine. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Mom told the school there wasn't room in the schedule for both of us. She said it would be better if I went because I was older, more mature. You never knew that. My stomach dropped. What? I found the letters years later when I was home from college. Your test scores, the acceptance letter, Mom's response declining on your behalf. I confronted her about it. Vanessa's voice shook. She said she was protecting you from the pressure, said you weren't equipped to handle that kind of academic intensity. But the truth is, she'd already decided I was the successful one, and you were the other one. I couldn't breathe. You've known this for 10 years longer. I found those letters when I was 21. I'm 34 now. She finally looked at me. I'm a coward, Janine. I let them build me up by tearing you down, and I said nothing because I benefited from it. Get out, Janine. My voice was cold and steady. Get out of my apartment. You've known for 13 years that they sabotaged my education, and you said nothing. You watched them treat me like garbage, and you stayed silent because it was convenient. I know, it's inexcusable. You don't get to come here and unburden yourself because you finally feel guilty. You don't get to make this about your redemption arc. I stood up, walking to the door and opening it. Leave, please. I want to make this right. There is no making this right. You can't give me back 13 years of wondering why I was never good enough. You can't undo the damage of watching you accept gifts and praise and opportunities while they handed me scraps and criticism. Tears streamed down my face. I thought we were sisters. I thought you loved me. I do love you. You love the idea of me, the lesser version that makes you look better by comparison, but you don't actually know me at all. I gestured to the door. Get out and don't come back. Vanessa stood slowly, her face pale. I deserve that. I deserve worse than that. She walked to the door, pausing in the threshold. For what it's worth, I'm returning the vacation home. Derek and I already decided, and I'm going to tell Mom and Dad exactly why. Do whatever helps you sleep at night, but don't pretend it's for me. She left without another word. I locked the door behind her and slid down to the floor, sobbing. The gifted program. They'd stolen that from me. How many other opportunities had they quietly redirected to Vanessa while telling me I wasn't ready, wasn't good enough, wasn't capable? How much of my life had been shaped by their manipulation? I cried until I had nothing left, then dragged myself to bed. Sleep didn't come. I lay there in the dark, replaying every memory through this new lens. Every maybe next year, and let's see how Vanessa does first. And we only have budget for one of you. It hadn't been favoritism. It had been systematic, deliberate suppression. The next morning, Christmas Day, my eyes were swollen and my head pounded. My phone had 63 missed calls and over 100 texts. I deleted them all without reading them. Then I sat down and wrote an email to my parents. I didn't send it immediately. I let it sit in my drafts folder while I thought about what I really wanted to say. I sat down beside her. You know what hurts the most? I would have been happy with nothing. I didn't expect a house. I didn't expect expensive gifts. I just wanted them to see me. To acknowledge that my life has value even though it looks different from yours. Vanessa nodded. Your life has always had value. You're an incredible teacher. Those kids worship you. How would you know? She pulled out her phone and showed me her screen. It was a Facebook page called Miss Patterson's 4th grade fan club run by former students and their parents. Hundreds of posts about how I changed their lives, helped them learn to read, believed in them when nobody else did. I've been following this for years, Vanessa admitted. I showed it to Mom and Dad once. They barely looked at it. Something inside me softened slightly. Why didn't you tell me about this? Because I was ashamed. Ashamed that I had to see evidence of your impact to believe it was real. Ashamed that I bought into their narrative about success and worth. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Vanessa spoke again. I don't want the house. Don't. I looked at her sharply. What? The vacation home, I'm giving it back to them. Derek and I talked about it on the drive home. We don't want a gift that came at the cost of humiliating you. Vanessa, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if I keep it, I'm complicit. I'm saying that what they did was okay and it's not okay. It will never be okay. I felt tears prickling at my eyes. What did Mom and Dad say when you told them you were leaving? Mom kept crying and apologizing. Dad tried to justify it, said they were just trying to motivate you. I told him that's nonsense. Motivation doesn't look like public humiliation. You said nonsense to Dad. I said a lot worse than that. She gave me a weak smile. I may have also mentioned that you have more integrity in your pinky finger than I have in my whole body. That's not true, is it? You chose a career because you wanted to help people, not because it would make you rich or impress anyone. You've been quietly changing the world while I've been chasing partnership at a corporate law firm that defends pharmaceutical companies price gouging cancer patients. I hadn't known that's what her firm did. Vanessa, I'm not a good person. I've known it for a while now. But watching what happened tonight, seeing their cruelty and my complicity in it, that was my wake-up call. Not your wake-up call, mine. We talked until 3 in the morning. She told me about the pressure she'd felt to be perfect, how exhausting it was to maintain the facade. I told her about the loneliness of being invisible, how I'd started to believe I really was mediocre. Before she left, she hugged me tightly. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be a better sister. I'd like that. After she left, I sat down and wrote an email to my parents. I didn't send it immediately. I let it sit in my drafts folder while I thought about what I really wanted to say. The next morning, Christmas Day, I finalized the email. To Mom and Dad, I've spent 32 years trying to earn your love and approval. I've diminished myself, questioned my worth, and internalized your disappointment. Last night was the final evidence I needed that nothing I do will ever be enough for you, because your perception of success is fundamentally broken. You measure worth by salary and status instead of impact and character. By your metrics, I'm a failure. By mine, I'm exactly who I want to be. I'm choosing me. I'm choosing my students, my work, my life. I'm choosing to surround myself with people who see me, value me, and love me for who I actually am. That doesn't include you anymore. Don't contact me unless you're ready to offer a genuine apology, not an explanation or justification. Until then, consider me done. Your daughter, Janine. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The responses came quickly. Mom's was full of hysteria and denial. Dad's was defensive and angry. I deleted them both without reading past the first lines. Vanessa texted me, proud of you. I didn't respond. After what she'd revealed last night, her pride meant nothing. She was part of the problem. Another person who'd chosen her own comfort over my well-being. Instead, I called my friend Rachel, who I'd met during my master's program. She was one of the few people who truly understood what it meant to build a life around teaching. "Merry Christmas," she answered, and I could hear her kids laughing in the background. "Hey, are you busy?" Her tone shifted immediately. "What's wrong?" I told her everything. The letter, the confrontations, Vanessa's revelation about the gifted program. Rachel listened without interrupting, which was one of the things I loved most about her. "I'm going to say something, and you're not going to like it," she said when I finished. "Go ahead. You've been free for years. You just didn't know it yet." Her voice was gentle but firm. "Janine, you built an incredible life without their support. You achieved things they can't even comprehend because they're so caught up in their narrow definition of success. The only thing holding you back now is your need for their approval, and you don't need it. You never did." It's not that simple. It is, though. You're Teacher of the Year. You're going to Yale. You're publishing a book. You own property. You have savings. You've transformed countless lives. By any objective measure, you're wildly successful. The only measure that says otherwise is theirs, so stop using their ruler. I sat with that for a moment. "When did you get so wise?" "Therapy. Lots of therapy." She laughed. "Look, my parents weren't as bad as yours, but they had their own ideas about who I should be. Letting go of that need for validation was the hardest and best thing I ever did. You're going to grieve it. Grieve the parents you deserved but never had, and then you're going to move on and be extraordinary, which you already are." We talked for another hour about everything and nothing. Her kids interrupted periodically to show her Christmas presents, normal family chaos. It made me ache with longing for something I'd never had. After we hung up, I made myself breakfast and opened my laptop. Yale had sent a welcome packet for incoming doctoral students. Reading through it felt surreal. This was happening. Despite everything, or maybe because of everything, I'd made it here. My phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Janine Patterson," I said. "Yes, this is James Morrison. I'm a producer with Channel 8 News. We're doing a story on your Teacher of the Year award and wondered if you'd be available for an interview." My first instinct was to say no, but something stopped me. "What kind of interview?" "We want to highlight your literacy program and its impact on at-risk students. We can film at the school when classes resume in January. Talk to some families if they're willing. Show people what excellent teaching looks like. And if you'd like, we could also feature your transition to Yale's doctoral program." The idea of my parents seeing me on television, finally forced to acknowledge my achievements, was deeply tempting, but that would be doing it for the wrong reasons. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Here's my number. The piece would air in mid-January if you're interested." After he hung up, I sat there staring at his contact information. Rachel was right. I needed to stop measuring my worth by my parents' standards. If I did this interview, it had to be because I wanted to showcase the program and inspire other teachers not to prove anything to anyone. I saved his number and decided to revisit it later. The weeks that followed were hard. Extended family members reached out trying to mediate. I politely declined. Colleagues who'd heard about my Teacher of the Year award wanted to celebrate. I let them. Friends from graduate school congratulated me on the Yale acceptance. I thanked them. I started building a life that didn't include my parents' approval as a prerequisite for happiness. 3 months later, I was packing up my apartment for the move to New Haven when Vanessa showed up with coffee and donuts. "Thought you could use some help," she said. We packed in comfortable silence, broken occasionally by reminiscing about our childhood. The good parts before comparison, and the competition poisoned everything. "I gave back the house," she said while wrapping dishes in newspaper. "They tried to convince me to keep it, said you'd overreacted, that I shouldn't let your sensitivity ruin their gift. And I told them I was getting therapy to unpack 30 years of toxic family dynamics. Suggested they do the same." I laughed. "How'd that go over?" "About as well as you'd expect. Dad said therapy is for weak people. Mom said there's nothing wrong with our family except your attitude." Classic. She handed me a roll of packing tape. "I also quit my job." I nearly dropped the box I was holding. "You what?" "Quit. Gave my notice last week. I'm joining a nonprofit legal clinic that provides free services to low-income families. The pay is terrible, but I'll actually be able to sleep at night." "Vanessa, that's amazing." "I figured if my little sister could choose purpose over prestige, maybe I could too." She smiled. Derek's supportive. He said he married me because he loved me, not because of my job title. He's a good guy. He really is. Which reminds me, he wanted me to invite you to dinner next week. No pressure, just the three of us. I'd like that. We finished packing as the sun set, painting my small apartment in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow, I'd start moving into my new condo. Next month, I'd begin the doctoral program at Yale. In the fall, my book would be published. My phone buzzed. An email from my mother. Janine, please call us. We miss you. We're ready to talk. I showed it to Vanessa. What do you think, Janine? Do you want to talk to them? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe someday, but not yet. I'm still building the version of myself that doesn't need their validation. Then don't, she said softly. Take all the time you need. Take forever, if that's what you need. I deleted the email. That night I stood in my empty apartment looking at the space I was leaving behind. This place had been my refuge, my sanctuary from judgment and comparison. But I didn't need a refuge anymore. I needed a home. And I was building that home within myself, brick by brick, choice by choice. My phone rang an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Patterson, an unfamiliar voice. This is Sarah Chen. You taught my daughter Mia 3 years ago. I remembered Mia, bright kid, struggled with dyslexia. Hi, Mrs. Chen. How's Mia doing? She's thriving. She's reading at grade level now, loves books. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up like you. My throat tightened. That's wonderful. I am calling because I saw you won Teacher of the Year. I wanted you to know that you changed my daughter's life. She'd given up on herself until she had you. You saw her potential when everyone else saw a problem. I'll never forget that. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat down on the floor of my empty apartment and cried. Not sad tears, grateful ones. This was my success. Not a vacation home or a prestigious job title, not a perfect marriage or a 6-figure salary. My success was measured in children who learned to read and students who believed in themselves, in lives quietly transformed. My parents would never understand that. Maybe Vanessa was beginning to, and maybe finally that was enough. I picked up my keys and took one last look around. Tomorrow was a new beginning. I was ready for it. The snow had stopped falling outside, leaving everything clean and white and full of possibility. I thought about that Christmas Eve, about the letter and the humiliation and the moment everything changed. They'd meant to break me. Instead, they'd freed me. I locked the door behind me and walked out into the winter night toward the life I was choosing, the life I deserved, the life I built with my own hands and my own heart. And I didn't look back.